let's move on to some stuff. Let's get depressed.
Yeah.
I didn't mean what I said, honest.
All right. So I've been listening to and reading up on more of the missing 411 stuff. I've been listening to a lot of interviews from David Pilatos. Is that his name, Jeff? Politis. David Politis.
Where can you get the interviews?
They're at YouTube.
Oh, man. I need
they're
to look
coast
into
to
that.
coast AM, just whole episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, they did episodes on Coast to Coast also?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there's some recent ones. And I did some specific... I wanted to do some research and find out... So we've talked about this in past episodes. So I'll give you a brief rundown, and Columbia can correct me. This guy's been doing some research and writing books, about 4 or 5 of them at this point.
For
about,
like 10 years, right?
Yeah, doing research about people going missing in
the North American
parks.
continent and the world.
And the world, absolutely. So
in national parks specifically.
There's not a lot of records kept on this, or if they are, they're very hard to get, and it costs money. And so this guy's been researching that people will vanish almost out of thin air, maybe within 30 feet of a large group of people, and then they'll wind up at improbable locations, like up a mountain, almost a mile away. And by the way, the person who was missing was 5 years old and can't traverse that kind of terrain easily. So what the hell is going on? And sometimes these people have their clothing turned inside out. They'll have their shoes left behind.
Or they'll be like...
The shoes are usually
they'll be half naked.
Yeah.
Like no pants, but a shirt. Or they will never find them at all. No trace, no bones. They'll find the clothing folded in place somewhere.
Yeah,
that's like one of the most shocking stories. Like 7 years later, they find the kids' clothes. They're folded. They're like they've never been worn.
Mm-hmm. Like they've been inside somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Longer.
Not out in the weather. At the top of a mountain where it snows every year, you know?
And so there's also cases of people being discovered alive after being missing, and they are incoherent and they can't speak. Or they're disabled in such a way, like they're already disabled and they can't describe what happened to them when they were missing.
There was one that was on the episode that I said I had messaged you about on MU that was a pay service episode. The story that they talked about with that, I think it might have been a 411 case, or they counted as related because it was in a national park. Guy goes hiking, disappears. Wife calls the police. She's like, my husband's been missing for 2 days. You guys need to go look for him.
Get off your ass.
He's an experienced hiker, so he told her exactly where he was going to be. You know, he's an experienced outdoorsman. They look for him. They can't find him for like a week. They eventually find him at the bottom of a gully, like a huge gully. Like, you know, if you're at the Grand Canyon standing at the top, he's at the bottom. And he was looking up at people waving to get their attention. Mm-hmm. They go get him, and they're like, where have you been? He's like, I've only been gone for a few hours.
Huh.
And they're like, no, you have like an entire week. And then he slowly starts to remember, I was walking in the woods. I found these people that were dressed in these like hippie, like gypsy, multicolored dresses. And I thought it was really weird that they would be out here in this kind of weather, like the kind of weather conditions in this kind of clothing. And he walked, he followed them. They were speaking a language he didn't understand. He followed them into this area where there was more of them, like men and women. And he said that I thought they were camping, but the feeling was not that I understood that they were camping. It was that I was given the impression that this is what camping is. And then I looked up and saw that there was a shining spacecraft or object in the sky above them, and then he doesn't remember anything after that, basically.
Wow.
Until he's waving at these people to be found. So he basically like walked into an alien fucking campsite.
That's one take from it. Yeah. And
that was one that they mentioned is like in the missing 411, he doesn't like to talk about the actual what it is, but this was a case that was like this particular case, clearly UFO was involved.
Or from what that person remembered.
Yeah, exactly. Or is that a screen memory? Did the government abduct him? So
the story I'm going to recount, I made notes on this so I could be as accurate as possible, because this seems so bizarre when you have close to 80,000 people that go missing every year, and not a lot of them are found. Like alive. I guess according to some reports they are, according to NPR, but according to this person who's been doing some research, no, not a lot. So he
never found at all.
So there's a story. They just call him John Doe. I think he was like a 13-year-old kid. He goes missing, and this is in 2010 October, and this was on Mount Shasta, which has a very long and storied history of paranormal activity on Mount Shasta.
Really close to Lake Fago.
Yeah, and I'll go into some of the folklore of Mount Shasta after this story because it's very interesting. So John Doe, this kid goes missing, and this is a fishing area, so it's not remote.
Wait, what year was this?
2010.
You know what's funny? I think you guys covered this on a previous episode that Jeff Martin was on because he made the the Lake Fago joke. I just realized.
Oh, really?
I stole that joke.
How about that?
And I think it was on a previous episode. So we'll have to look through the 2010 catalog for this.
Yeah, please. Archivist, look it up. Curator, get on that. So this is 2010, and this kid, John Doe. This is a case where this kid was found alive and remembers what happens to him. This is what he recounts. He was taken to a cave. He was with a woman that looked like his grandma. There were other things in the cave that looked like robots, but they weren't moving. And when he looked at his grandma, he noticed that there was a halo around her or sparks around her head. He later believed that this woman, while very nice, it wasn't his grandma and most likely was a robot too. That's the impression that he got out of it.
Okay, so this is like a early gray abduction story.
Something. So he's getting like these impressions, these vague impressions. And so then his grandma started to become very pushy. And that started to make him...
This is all very in line with early abduction reports.
It started to make him uncomfortable, especially when his grandma rolled out some sticky paper and told him to take a shit on it. But he didn't have to shit. That's what I'm not.
I gotta take a shit so bad.
I thought for a minute you were just making that up.
I'm not going for a joke. That's exactly how he recounts it. He was asked to take a shit on the sticky paper that was rolled out for him.
His grandma was like, "Please, just make waste.
Make waste. Make doo-doo for grandma."
These other robots are going to watch. Don't pay attention to them.
Just close your eyes. They're not here. Go over to that glory hole. Thing in the wall.
Grandma, why are those other robots making motions with their hands?
He also recounts that there were small firearms laying around. Like, that's what he looked like, small firearms, like pistols. He didn't really go into too much detail.
They're like, we just have a lot of guns, so we don't know how they work. They're more like ornaments.
So it turns out... after investigating this a little bit more, his grandmother was at this exact campsite 3 weeks previous to his disappearance. And she brought this up because this guy, David, always asks, hey, is there anything out of the ordinary that is not in the report that you just found to be curious? And
like some high strangeness. Coincidence.
And she recounts that while camping there 3 weeks previous to John Doe's disappearance, that she recounts while sleeping in her tent, that she felt a pinprick on the back of her neck, and she woke up and her husband investigated. It was bloody, like she had been inserted with something.
How old is this grandma that she's still camping?
I don't know. You can camp up into your 80s if you want to.
I plan on it. But...
basically, if you're camping when you're 80, you're just going out there to die, essentially. You're basically saying, wolves, take me.
Hey, maybe it was a retirement plan.
But if she got a pinprick on the back of her neck and in a tent, you could almost make it a leap in logic here, saying, well, maybe they harvested her DNA and assumed her identity to draw this kid into a cave for whatever reason, using something familiar.
I think more likely that she was abducted. In her own right, and maybe the screen memory or the the neuralization, shall we say, to use an MIB term from the movie that Will Smith was in.
But this is very interesting.
Was very strong in her, because I feel like, especially in these early abduction reports, like in the 50s, there's a lot of this where you look at cases where the abductees, they perceive the creatures to look a certain way, but they don't. It doesn't really make sense. It's as if they are projecting into your mind what they think you should see of them.
Yeah.
To make you feel more calm, but they're not good at understanding us, because
they don't understand camping.
They don't understand camping. Like, even in the other story, it's like, this is not camping. You know, like,
they don't understand how to socially interact with people.
But they know that they can read your mind or something, which is another popular theory with the Greys, is that the Greys have this telepathic communication and ability to kind of project and create impressions and stuff and read your impressions. Like, if you look at the there's an underground base one that's very popular. I'm pretty sure it's all bullshit, but in that guy's storyline,
Dulce or something.
Yes. So underground base, supposedly a bunch of aliens.
Dulce, yes.
A bunch of aliens hang out there. There's Greys, Reptilians, and Nordics, and humans all working together on secret scientific projects. Let's just set that aside for a minute.
Yeah.
But the gentleman who is supposedly the whistleblower in this storyline, who's probably bullshit, he, in his storyline, the Greys have the ability to read your impressions and your intentions and your words, but the way that you get around that is you yell at them. So you're just like,
"Oh, hey,
Greys guy, go over there, clean the bucket, clean. And they'll be like, I do not understand. And they'll start cleaning things because you just yelled at them. So they're used to taking orders.
Yeah, exactly.
But they have this ability to read impressions and possibly project.
What is your problem?
Yes. So Alex Jones would be impervious to these guys. He would just immediately be yelling. He's impervious.
Get out of my way.
The Google thing you guys played. He's like impervious to them. He's like, yes, well, get the cops. And he's like, I don't understand, because he's miscombobulating their mind with confusion. You know.
Yeah. Just go look at this. You have food.
I think this guy David Pilates.
Pilates.
David Pilates. I think he did stumble onto accidental alien abduction. He doesn't want to call it that. He's actively strayed away from this, because right now it's completely legitimate, and he's I think the only one who's organized this database of missing people from parks. But he has come up with some interesting things.
I think he's found a lot of high strangeness, and it's like, is it Bigfoot? Is it the military? Is it aliens? And I think for him, and I understand his position on this, he doesn't necessarily want to come out and say it's fucking aliens, because then no one's going to pay attention to this, and they're just going to say it's all bullshit. But the fact that many people go missing in our national parks and nobody, the government, I mean, a forest ranger is essentially like a sheriff.
Yeah, federal sheriff.
They're a federal level officer with the ability to carry a gun and arrest, at least in some instances, but they're not writing down people that go missing that they investigate.
Find it hard to believe.
Yeah, where's all the paperwork? This is supposed to be a government office. This is supposed to be red tape and pencil pushers out the wazoo.
You don't have the Excel spreadsheet made.
My counter argument to that is, I did go to school in college with a girl who wanted to become a forest ranger. And not a lot of people want to become forest rangers, and most people
they'll take anybody.
Well, they'll take anybody, and I think a lot of people who want to become forest rangers are conservationists. They're not thinking about like, hey, I might be hiking in like one of the many miles of the park and see a fucking Bigfoot. Like, there was a Bigfoot story where park ranger happens upon hairy creature. Dude is like fucking trapped in a bear trap. Now the guy was out in the woods. They were tagging bison population in the park. It's in the middle of the winter.
I think I actually told us. I'm going to get back to this before.
Let's finish yours.
I want to go down this path. So this guy discovered a correlation. The brighter the clothing you wear out in the woods, the more likely you are to be taken, which I found to be interesting. So typically, you want to wear bright clothes in the woods so people can find you in case you're lost. But now, no. Everyone can find you.
Hold on. You don't want to wear bright clothes in a national park, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Not only will you be seen and be able to be taken. In Boy Scouts, I think they taught us this too. You should always carry a flare gun if you're going on a long hiking trip into a deep part of the woods.
I carry 5, dude.
Well, you should at least carry one. If you don't have a flare gun, you should at least have some hunting safe clothing that you can use as a flag.
Yeah, that's
or
kind of
something white. But the only reason that you need to wear bright colors, i.e. orange or hunting safe colors, is if you are in an area where there is hunting. And hunting is not legal in almost all of our national
I like
parks.
to wear all pink when I go out there. That's just me. But
yeah.
Go ahead. I mean.
Well, that would make sense why children are taken then.
Yeah, they wear lots of bright colors.
They do love bright colors.
Bright color clothing, because, it's easier to spot your kid if they're running around wearing a purple shirt.
I want my child to be wearing a full ghillie suit.
Yeah, I'm going to have my kid.
Less molestable. That's what I say.
Full scale mail armor. Bright pink scale mail armor. Have you finished up the book yet, Clown Baby?
No, I'm halfway through. I'll get through it here.
That's fine. No pressure.
Give it to you at Christmas.
The interviews have been very, very compelling. And
you got to send me that link, or I'll just look. I'll look them up.
The two I listened to are up on the links on the ourbigdumbouth.com website.
Sweet.
And
just tapping into that.
There are some other things that he has started to do. He's been asked to, hey, why don't you go ahead and take a look at some of the missing people in the cities, urban areas. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. But the more he started to look into it, the more he started to find interesting clusters. So he found clusters.
He's almost done with the 411 series National Parks books.
Yeah, so he's going to move on to something else. So
he needs the cities.
He found clusters. That being a cluster is a group of children will go missing in a certain area, or a group of old people will go missing in a certain area. He found within urban areas that this is the criteria for you to be abducted in the urban area. They're mostly white. They're athletic. The disappearance involves alcohol. These people are found dead by a river or a large body of water, and they're of German descent.
All right, so that means that I need to stay pleasantly plump.
Yes.
Because I am very German.
Yes.
And I do like to drink.
That's a bad thing.
I have been thinking about quitting drinking recently for a little while. I'm just going to straight marijuana all the time.
But these are college-age men, and I brought up
good. I'm almost out of that range.
Yeah, me too.
Thank God.
I'm good. But there's a story I posted up on a website of back in 2006 here in Columbus. Someone went missing out of the blue. They're at the bar here at the Gateway.
Ugly Tuna Saloon.
The Ugly Tuna Saloon.
That gentleman has never been found.
And he disappeared basically he left the club. There's
a video everywhere in this bar. It is a total.
And you see him, he just disappears.
Campus bar in a brand new, at the time it was a brand spanking new development building specifically for shopping. A terrible chain bar. People were going there to get drunk because they got cheap margaritas and like fruity banana twins drinks going on.
But when this guy disappeared, it panicked a lot of people. Because this
scared the shit out of people.
Yeah.
And did I tell you on, I think I was on an episode where I told you, so I think we can talk about this because our listenership is slim, especially in the local area. My family member is or was a professional hairstylist.
Oh, nice.
And she used to cut a member of one of the sheriff's offices in Franklin County, right? It's Columbus's county. And he said around this time, this is shortly after, it would have been a few years after, he said that they have been actively investigating. There is a number of disappearances on campus in that area, right there on High and
right around 11th.
Yeah, it's
so
High and 11th.
Serial killer.
They think that there is a guy that is a serial killer that has been operating for possibly 2 decades.
Wow,
just very slow. They think that for sure there's 7 because they found IDs.
Okay.
And they think that's his calling card as he leaves like a piece of clothing and an ID. And that's what they find, and they never find the people.
But
this guy, they did not find his ID, but at the time, that was the conversation around the city is like, oh, this guy went missing. What happened to him? Because there's video footage of him entering the place, and there's videos on all the exits. He never left that bar.
so this is one of the more difficult things that they have to traverse is that there's like a lot of local law enforcement who want to attribute some of these missing people to a serial killer, obviously, but there's no evidence left behind because you're human. You're going to leave tracks somewhere. You're going to leave evidence somewhere. You'll eventually be caught.
I mean, unless they're really fucking good.
Yeah, I guess unless you're really good. We don't know if they haven't been caught because they're so good, but most likely humans make errors. So, yeah, some of it could be serial killers, but not to this scale, not 80,000 people kind of shit. That's insane. And the military knows about this. They're keeping quiet. The government knows about this. The FBI knows about this. They're keeping quiet. So either it's some kind of paranormal, weird, bizarre, crazy shit, or we have an organized ring of basically a satanic cult that is abducting people. And using
don't paint this as Satanism.
I'm not. I'm saying
don't sweep this up into satanic
there's
panic.
Only so many
Satanists are not doing this.
Bryce, let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
There's only so many different avenues you can go down because
I'm going to tell you, it's the Gradient Treaty.
The Gradient Treaty?
Yes.
What's that?
Eisenhower signed a deal with the Greys, saying we would give so many people every year to them for their technology.
But wait, look, if they're going to abduct people and tell them to take a shit on a piece of paper, why don't they just go down to the local outhouse like any other pervert and jump in there, and then you have all the shit you need from humans? Why do you need to abduct a kid and tell them to shit in a cave?
I don't even really think it's aliens, honestly. I think that there's other forces at play here that we do not yet understand that have been here for eons.
I think you're right.
They are the mythologies, the Pan, the god of the forest, the trickster spirits,
the jinns,
the jinns,
the Lemurians.
Yes, that's all of these things that we have different names for. They're all the same thing.
I don't want to cut you off or anything, Cloud Baby, but do you mind if I read some folklore? I don't know if you have anything to add to this before I read some folklore about Mount Shasta and some
I just want to bring up the only other thing I wanted to bring up was this one guy that went missing in Pittsburgh.
Okay, yeah, please, bring it up. Is it mysterious circumstances surrounded his disappearance?
What was his name again? He was going to a concert that I was at.
Oh, you should have had the story ready
4 years ago.
That's why you do show prep, Clown Baby. Come on.
I had it and I closed the tab.
Oh, come on, man.
It was an accident.
How about a little clown action, huh?
You guys remember when the football guy went missing?
What's that?
Remember when the football guy went missing like just a year ago?
Yeah,
before the Michigan game, and they found him in the dumpster dead.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah, but he shot himself. But
typically,
that was like, I was like, this is it.
Typically, he's found it.
This is the beginning of the people are going to be like, oh shit, because now somebody actually cares because it's about football.
Typically, these people and males are found near body of water. The funny thing is, though, it's not funny. The interesting part is that they've been missing for 6 days, and they may have been dead for say 4 of them, but 2 days. But they've only been in water for 1 of them, so their body has obviously been moved.
It was moved in between the time of the death.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So apparently this guy James Slack, after a concert, about 2 months later after he disappeared, they found his body in the Ohio River. It had all of his cash, wallet, and cell phone on him. Apparently he had told his friends he was out. He got separated with his friends at the concert, and then he called him saying he was out partying or something. And then they never heard from him again, and then he just washes up in the river 2 months later.
Is he found in a body
of water? He's like 25 years old.
That's the typical age. Does he have German descent?
I don't know. Slack, is that a...
I don't know.
That sounds pretty German or Slavic.
Hi, Slack. I don't know.
Let's take
do a little bit more research on it and see if you can find any background on him. I'll read about Mount Shasta.
Norse origin, so it's Germanic.
Yeah, okay. He fits the criteria. Was he athletic? Was he built good?
Yeah, he looked okay. I mean, there's one picture I saw.
Nice. Is he cute?
He was in decent shape, and he was definitely drinking that night.
I'm cute, though. Built good.
And he winds up in water.
I'm 27.
Well, it's
actually 25.
Okay. Well, Daniel Politas is 27, all right?
I'm 27.
So here's a little bit about Mount Shasta, the area where the...
it's an epic picture.
The kid I was talking about disappeared. So here's some American Indian legends about this. According to local Indian tribes, I'm sorry, I'll be nice. Mount Shasta is inhabited by the spirit chief Skell, who descended from heaven to the mountain's summit. Skell fought with spirit of the below world, Lao, who resides on Mount Mazama, by throwing hot rocks and lava, probably representing the volcanic eruptions at both mountains. Okay, so there's also a legend of Lemuria. Do you know what Lemuria is? It's like, I thought it was an ancient mythical civilization, like Lemurians and Lemuria.
You made fun of my people.
Did I really? The Satanists?
I thought you were going to go for Wendigos there.
No, I didn't make fun of your
I was
people.
joking. I was joking.
Are you an Indian?
No.
I didn't make fun of the Indians. I was just insulting them a little bit. I apologize. I apologize.
So who are the Lemurians?
I'm going to apologize to Native Americans, the first people here. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. Okay?
I think you probably have a very nice ass as well.
It's okay. You probably do. The Lemurians. So Mount Shasta has also been a focus for non-Native American legends, centered on a hidden city of advanced beings from the lost continent of Lemuria. The legend grew. I think I'm pronouncing this correctly.
Is this like an alternate Atlantis?
I guess so. The legend grew from an offhand mention of Lemuria in the 1880s. In the 1880s, in 1899, Frederick Spencer Oliver published A Dweller on Two Planets, which claimed that survivors from the sunken continent called Lemuria were living in or on Mount Shasta. Oliver's Lemurians lived in complex tunnels beneath the mountain, and occasionally were seen walking the surface dressed in white robes. In 1931, Harvey Spencer Lewis, using the pseudonym Agostino Krav.
See, pseudonym is very important here.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's some parallels and some other things that I was listening to in the European continent, where like these guys would present ideas and they'd be like, this is quote unquote real, but it's getting published as fiction, and they publish it under their pseudonym because they don't want to get
So I can't even pronounce this guy's pseudonym is Whizzler Spleen Serval.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
I guess I wrote a book published by I can't even pronounce this, about the hidden Lemurians of Mount Shasta that bibliographer of Mount Shasta described as responsible for the legend's widespread popularity. This belief has been incorporated into numerous occult religions, including I Am Activity, the Summit Lighthouse, Church Universal and Triumphant, and Kron.
All right. So the thing that I was referencing, I kind of remembered a little bit more about this since you said underground cave networks.
Yeah.
So I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's the guy that comes up with the idea of the word vril. Vril, which is the essence of life, which is what good old Madame Blavatsky grabbed onto and said that was like the basis for her ideas that were eventually published in Astara, which is what inspired our good friend Hitler in the future. So, but this guy that wrote this other book that also did the pseudonym thing, he was talking about guys like Nephilim, like the angel kind of people that are left over, but he kind of calls them aliens, and they're winged creatures, and they live underground, and they have the ability to control this energy called vril.
Okay, it's kind of like the Force?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Force.
Yes, awesome.
So, okay.
Star Wars.
Sorry, a little side note.
Awesome.
If any listeners are really interested in that, if you look up Miss Blavatsky and kind of like delve into the SS occult beginnings, and you look deeper where that stuff came from, and then where that came from, you'll see this guy come up that published this book about the winged people living under the ground. This is in like the 1700s, I believe.
Does this go back to hollow Earth theory in a way?
Yeah. It starts to go into the hollow Earth theory. Actually, if you just want to, you know what? A lot of this I know is from last podcast.
Yeah.
On the left, they have an episode about the hollow Earth, and then they also have a really great episode about the Nazi occult.
Yeah, they do some good stuff over there. I don't think they I don't like when
They have a very comedy element to it.
Yeah,
but they do good research, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. I don't think
over Thanksgiving I went to see the live show.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet Henry Zabrowski and
good dudes.
Ben Kessel. I did not get to talk to Marcus, but I've messaged him on Facebook a couple times.
Good people.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
I really like them a lot. I mean, they definitely have shaped me a lot. I think their podcast is really great, and it started from nothing. It started from kind of what yours was like. They were doing it. It's a passion project.
They're just much larger podcasts than we are. Very big.
I think they're
big.
only larger. They got one write up in a magazine.
Yeah, that's all it takes sometimes.
And they have a really active Facebook group.
Yeah, that's all it takes is one good write up, and that can
really boost you.
Once you do that.
Also, they have like Henry is a personality.
And they're comedians too. Like some of them are.
Yeah. Henry was in Wolf of Wall Street as a side character. He's also had a show on Adult Swim. Ben Kissel's on Fox News a couple times on Red Eye. Don't mean to make this about their podcast.
You are.
You know, we've talked about how we talk about all media here.
Sure.
Because this podcast is about everything.
I don't feel threatened by other podcasts.
You shouldn't.
I don't. I don't know why I should.
Yours is just as
should
good.
I be?
No.
Maybe. I don't know. I do want to. So before we wrap up this conversation.
So wait, hold on. They live underground, right? These people, the Lemurians.
Yes.
Is there any more? Is that all the Wikipedia's got?
Well, on that brief description, applying to Mount
you were looking at Shasta. Let's talk more about the Lemurians.
Lemurian. Okay, so scientific origins. It goes back to 1864. The zoologist and biographer Philip Scatler wrote an article on the mammals of Madagascar in the Quarterly Journal of Science using a classification he referred to as lemurs. So there's just so much going into it. Like the Lemurians. I'm about to do a lot more research on the Lemurians. And according to Wikipedia, the ancient continent actually is in the Pacific, or was in the Pacific at some point.
Oh, so it's like the Pacific
version of Atlantis.
Yeah, Atlantis. Yeah, because Atlantis is supposedly in the Atlantic somewhere.
Yep, that's correct.
Perhaps it's on the other vile vortice.
Yeah, I all this kind of stuff is very intriguing. I'll have to dig more into Lemuria. It's insanity. Actually, they're claiming it to be in the Indian Ocean.
It could be all the same thing.
It could be. Why couldn't it?
Remember, there's some versions of the Atlantis ideal that the city actually moved, that it was a spaceship, that it was like an object that could move about the planet.
And these so up until the turn of the century, 1900s, all these weird things that people would see, they would be witches, or there'd be fairies, or there would be devils, and then they transformed into their UFOs because it seems like these paranormal sightings are keeping up with the technology at the time, and I think it's our understanding. It's like some dude sees something, he's like, clearly that was the newfangled invention light bulb strapped to an object in the sky. Yeah, it was a flaming wheel. So I think it keeps evolving, or people's perception of it keeps evolving, because people perceive the same event a little differently, especially UFO sightings from what I've read. So it's a person's perception, what they're willing to accept into their mind is what they're going to process. Hence maybe why this kid saw his grandmother and not an alien, because that's what he could accept. I think that plays very well along with a little comment that was on another thing I listened to, where they were saying that if you look at the African airplane cults, where these indigenous people built airplanes and worshiped them, and thought if they built the
the tarmac for the plane to land on, that their gods would come down because we were like dropping fucking food and shit to them.
Did it work?
But we were doing like.
Did Bill Clinton land down? Hey, I'm here.
It kind of did eventually, but it was
Thanks
like,
for the runway.
it was like the Star Trek idea where it's like, oh, we can hang out, but we can't interact with the people. So they're like, oh my God, spaceship in the sky.
We're
So
just going to drop bombs and food.
yeah. So it's like, is the modern idea, as you're saying, it's evolving. It's like now the UFO cults are the same thing, and maybe these intelligent ideas are out there, these entities, and they're going, oh, look at these stupid
Well, they can
fucking
obviously
indigenous people.
If they're around and if these accounts are true, then they can read our minds, and so they know what we're capable of thinking at this point.
Some of them can read our minds.
Damn.
The reptilians can't.
Oh, the reptilians! I got a whole big thing on the reptilians and breakdown. If you want to talk about that, Clown Baby, what do you got to say?
I don't know.
Okay.
How about a little clown action, huh?
I think if you did a side episode on Lemurians, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I
really, when you did the Nibiru episode, that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a very deep, profound episode, Planet X, and some people are saying, "Hey, this is the month, December 2015. This is the month of Planet X." So we'll see if we all die. Let's move on to a little something else, Clown Baby. Are you with us? You doing okay, buddy?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Sir Clown, okay.
Can we transition to the reptilians? I mean, Clown Baby said he had a whole article.
I'm the Reptilians.
I do. On the, I have a whole link on the reptilians. And I started to investigate the reptilians a little bit. And people in the UFO community believe that the reptilians are the ones running the joint. And that these grays are actually biological androids. And they were built by the reptilians to come down here and do the dirty work.
I think you have a misconception.
Look.
The Greys were built by the Palladians.
Okay.
And the Palladians and the Reptilians, they don't like each other very much.
Oh. I don't know my alien cultures.
But they hang out
like I
together.
Think I do.
They hang out at the Dolce facility. Because they need the Greys to do the genetic...
Club Dolce.
Club Dolce. Yeah, they got to hang out at Club Dolce for the Greys to do the biological experiments, because the reptilians are just not interested.
They like to go clubbing together?
They just like to hang out and be like giant assholes. Basically, they're like Klingons.
Would you say when the reptilians walk in the joint, they're running the place?
They are. They're definitely Dino Panachinis.
Yeah, the Dino Panachinis of the alien races. Okay. So typically, reptilians are described as 6 to 8 feet tall.
What are you, gray?
What are you, Gray?
Typically, reptilians are described as 6 to 8 feet tall, bipedal, having scaly green skin. Oh my God. No, my God, no. I'm not going to do it. I will do it.
He had green skin.
Have bad odor, have large eyes, usually yellow or gold, with vertical pupils. They have they're sometimes linked to myths about ancient astronauts who allegedly came to Earth to see the planet and promised one day to return.
That would be the Anunnaki.
So I initially started to look into the reptilians for a potential shape-shifting alien race, and these guys did come up a little bit as a potential shape-shifting.
Yeah, they also supposedly have the ability to trap souls.
And I looked at
then implant their own souls within and use human bodies as puppets.
Well, this sounds like demon possession to me.
Yeah, probably pretty similar thing, man. Demonology, bro.
But I started looking at the shape-shifting aspect for this reason. When these people go missing in these national forests, that one, they maybe take the form of a person's loved one or relative to lure them into caves to take a shit on a piece of paper. That's a very crucial point. So maybe they can shapeshift into
They're really into Chicago sunroofs. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying.
I was thinking you were going to the angle. It's like the reptilians are like they use us like a Hertz rental service. They're like, we trap the soul, make them think they shit on a piece of paper, but really we need Johnny's body to go to a really important business meeting.
I think that they could, if there are shapeshifters, that they might either be a part of the search party, or taking the form of a loved one to draw them out. So they always there's many reports in this missing 401 where there's a search party. They've searched an area very thoroughly, then they come back again and the body turns up.
So hold on.
So almost like it's an inside job. Like maybe someone within the search party is like, oh, look what I found. We just searched it.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, what happened to Johnny, the kid? Did he take the shit or not?
Oh no, he did not take a shit because he said he didn't.
So he didn't.
No,
That's interesting because the idea of the Wendigo, which is a Native American mythology, which is a shapeshifter. It is a human that consumes the flesh of a relative, doing a cannibalistic ritual to become a witch.
Is it a shit eater?
Has the ability to shapeshift, but one of the things that they do to gain control of your soul is that they offer you something, and if you take it from them, you will be possessed.
Like a new car or something like that?
Yeah, usually it's something like money. Like there's a story where a guy met a older Native American man, and he left this silver note at the bar, and he left it out there, but he was trying to get the guy. He was like, hey, I know where there's more of these. If you take this from me and help me out, I'll make you really rich.
It's kind of like the old, you got to invite a vampire into your house.
Yeah, kind of. It's like that, but it's like, I can give you fortune, but you got to take this from me. But this time they were like, we really want your shit.
Yeah. They needed that shit.
Yeah, they needed it.
And he wouldn't give it up. Yeah.
He wouldn't give it up.
Very attached to his shit. Yeah, so that's why I looked into the reptilians to see if maybe possibly they're if there's any history of them abducting people this blatantly, doing the dirty work, going down there and doing it. But most of the alien abductions that I read about, it always comes back to the Greys doing the dirty work.
It's usually the Greys, or if you look at the really early reports, it'll be Nordic-like aliens, which are also a Grey type but much taller, and they will be dressed as Nazis.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very early, the 50s, a lot of the 50s reports say, oh, there was a Nazi. There was a guy dressed in a Nazi uniform.
Yep. Hitler's behind this. Hitler's abducting your kids.
I don't know if it's Hitler.
No, he's doing it.
It's like Goebbels or something.
Yeah.
Hanging out with the Greys.
Gerbils.
It's Rommel.
It's
the desert fox.
The desert gerbil.
The desert gerbil.
That's all I really have on this right now. With the missing 401 stuff, the guy even mentions that on the interviews. Hey, don't buy my books from Amazon. They're overpriced. Hit the website. So he is acknowledging that. And if you hit YouTube or our website, there are links to two of his more recent interviews that he's done on Coast to Coast AM. Extremely fascinating.
And if you can support him, and he is making a documentary right now with his son that is supposed to come out next year. So
this guy's actually going out to all spots.
I would say if you have a couple dollars to throw at him, it's worth it, or buy one of the books, because this to me, beyond the possible alien, Sasquatch, military, whatever, just the fact that this amount of people over this long of time period have been going missing and nobody seems to give a shit. That,
and
to
there's
me,
no registry on it?
Yeah, that's important. We need to be thinking about this. And I think his point of view is, I don't want to come out and say
it's aliens or Bigfoot.
This is an opinion on it. He's just interested in presenting the fact.
And that's the best way to do it in order to get NPR articles, in order to get anybody to write
that's what
about
a real fucking documentary is. It's not...
That's right. He's also working on that movie.
Yeah.
Yes. So if listeners out there, you're interested in this at all,
this is the best way.
Send the guy $1.
Yeah, this is actually the best way to
It's
expose
$25 a book.
not only
not that bad.
Not only paranormal activity, but also government complacency or cooperation in some way. We don't know.
There's stories in there that the Green Berets get involved.
Yeah,
and Mike has talked about
the
this
FBI.
on the
FBI knows about
an episode before. There's no acknowledgement of it.
There's an FBI.
This has a lot of flavors of what goes on in the Franklin conspiracy cover-up book. Also, that the FBI is clearly complacent and they do not give a shit.
Well, there's one FBI. There's one FBI agent that David talks about, that it shows up on a good number of these missing person cases. He's there on the ground, and apparently that it must have got to him because he committed suicide. So
yeah. I wonder if that's like an FBI thing, because you know that with the plane thing,
Well, a lot of cops commit suicide too. A lot of detectives.
Yeah. The plane thing also, the recent plane explosion, the guy that they had on the major news was the same guy who reported on another plane blowing up years ago.
I don't know if they offed him or if it was just too much for him to take mentally, but I think that's a big indicator. Like, this is much bigger. And if you could just imagine year after year after year, you've seen all these missing persons report. You're there for 10 years. It's almost amounted to 1 million people have disappeared in 10 years, and they don't know what's going on. Because close to all the numbers I've seen, almost 80,000 people go missing a year. More people go missing than are shot. It's insane. And that's not on the news. That no one's talking about that. No one's protesting that.
Yeah.
They're just gone.
Yeah, and regarding the high strangeness and the coincidences, there is a guy who was a detective that recently wrote a book about past life regression. Mm-hmm. He was a non-believer, and he did a whole book about his past life regression, and he studied it as a homicide detective would. He gathered some facts from his regression and went through and tried to disprove it.
He couldn't.
And he couldn't.
Yeah.
He found every single thing lined up to this recent past life regression that he found that he was this person, right? That aside, though, one of the statements he said that in police detective work, there is no such thing as a coincidence. There is only information that leads you to truth.
Yeah.
So you can only look at everything you have and follow that back until you find the truth, because there's no such thing as coincidence in police work.
One last thing before we move on. I promise we're going to move on to some stuff. And Clown Baby, if you want to get some articles ready that you want to talk about, please do so. This guy from Missing 411, he's at a point right now where he wants to try some remote viewing, and he's actively trying to get with some people.
I'm down with the system. Man.
Yeah,
let's get it on.
Let's use remote viewing. Let's use paranormal.
Definitely. There's on I think MU also, they just did a thing. A dude is using remote viewing for UFOs specifically.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting...
Because the remote viewing thing has just come out recently, that the CIA... That was just...
It's not too long ago. Like in the history of things.
10 years ago,
yeah.
Basically, the CIA and they revealed... Or no, it was the military revealed that we've had the CIA black budget project. We were remote viewing. The Russians were doing it, so we had to do it. It was Psy Wars, whatever. We had some sort of success rate with it, and now all those dudes are allowed to talk about it. So right now, all of the paranormal community, all of the people that are interested in anything like missing people, anything, they are looking to this going, hell yeah, I want to get remote viewers, because these guys have success rates.
Yeah.
And they do it in groups. They remote view like different sections, and they bring the information together and look at that, and now you have a new lead.
I'm still reading through the book I have. The problem with it is it doesn't go through a lot of cases in a succinct way. It goes into a lot of the background of how this guy met other people and got to where he is. But I'll be very interested to see what David Pilates learns. And that's not his name. But what he learns. Pilates, what he learns from all the missing people with remote viewing. But we have to move on now. Please. I have a few clips here from Alex Tiberius Jones, and let's go.
Henceforth will be known as Alexander Tiberius Jones.
Yeah, here we go.
Your devil cult will fall forever. Your next fall is forever. You won't rise from the ashes this time.
He's very angry about the climate summit going on over there in Paris. Very angry.